You guys, it's your boy Jeameave, back again with ViewsFromTheHeart, and today we got a 2011 LCI BMW E70 X5 xDrive 35i. Now, obviously that's an extreme mouthful, but I'm going to lay down everything in layman's terms and explain to you exactly, break it down, everything I just said. LCI is BMW's version of saying facelift. It stands for Life Cycle Impulse. E70 is a chassis designation of this vehicle. It is the second generation from 2007 to 2013, and this being 2011 means that the LCI happened. This was facelifted in 2011. It is, and also the, like I said, xDrive is BMW's terms for all-wheel drive. So 2011 LCI BMW E70 X5 xDrive 35i, and the 35i stands for the inline 6 turbo option, which comes with this X5, and it is a N55 twin scroll turbo inline 6. Again, a whole bunch of information being barraged at you at this time, but basically this is the most pinpoint way you can describe this vehicle. 2011 LCI inline 6 twin scroll turbo, N55 engine equipped, xDrive, all-wheel drive, and yeah, that's basically what the name of this vehicle is and what all of those things correlates with. So it has a curb weight of 4,900 pounds and a maximum towing capacity of 6,000 pounds. It is also mated to a ZF 8-speed automatic Steptronic transmission, and it has 300 horsepower and 300 pound-feet of torque from a twin scroll turbo inline 6 N55 engine. Now, again, obviously this is a BMW, this is kind of my bread and butter, I kind of know these things like it's the back of my hand, but anyway, going with that in mind, these vehicles now are going for anywhere between the range of $12,000 to $18,000, and starting price brand new, they were $46,000, and with options quickly raised to the $55,000 to $56,000 to even $58,000 range, depending on what you're getting. So I think I covered everything that I need to in terms of the introduction for what this vehicle offers and what it's all about. So let me go ahead and take you on the inside and show you what this bad boy is all about. Let's go ahead and get it. Let's go ahead and see what's popping in this bad boy. Let's go ahead and check it out. Ooh, so right off the bat, it's very spacious in here. It's very comfortable. The seats are very supple. Copious amount of space at the front, ample space in the back. You really, when you get in here, you're sitting and getting into a luxury vehicle. To be honest though, with this particular one, there is more use of soft plastic than I would personally like in my own personal vehicle. It does give off a certain sense of luxuriousness because unlike American vehicles, in my opinion, the soft plastics used in their German equivalents tend to be a little bit more subdued, a little more or less. You gotta touch it to kind of really know exactly what it is, and I think that even though it's not the most premium quality and it's not, you know, leather wrapped or things like that, it does a good job of giving you a facade and just a false sense of luxury in a way, you know. And but I say that very loosely because, like I said, this is a lovely interior for the most part. Again, when I'm gonna compare this to the SRT8 Jeep Grand Cherokee review that I did, and that interior blew me away. That interior, leather wrap dashboard, everything like that was top notch. It was, I would dare say, better than this, just for the fact, like I said, the dashboard was leather wrapped, everything of that nature. It was a very luxurious place to be in, and that's what I want to see out of American cars. Now again, this isn't necessarily a fair comparison because the SRT8 Jeep Grand Cherokee could be more comparable to a BMW X5M for this particular model. Remember, this is an X35i, which means this is one of the lower models, not the X28i, but the X35i. I believe it had the naturally aspirated inline 6 option for some of the years, then the twin scroll option, and then the twin turbo option, as well as the X5M 4-liter bi-turbo option. So that would be the S63 TU for the X5M engine. This is the N55, and the regular V8, not the X5M or the M model, would be the S63 bi-turbo V8. Now personally, I prefer inline sixes. That's just me, that's just my personal preference, but actually there's actually a warrant to that. If you're not getting the M model of the bi-turbo V8, get the inline six. Don't get the regular V8 model. There tends to be a lot of issues with that engine. There's a lot better materials used in the M version of the S63, which is the S63 TU engine. So just my word of advice, if you're cross-shopping any of these vehicles, get the inline six if you're not getting an X5M, because you'd be better off with maintenance and everything of that nature, in my personal opinion, from research that I've done. But going back to this interior, it's very comfortable. Again, this is probably the biggest BMW vehicle that BMW offers, and that's saying something, because BMW was built on a precipice of smaller, sporty handling, not necessarily straight line speed, but will carve up most cars in the canyons. But obviously, you know, this is a sport utility vehicle, SUV. It is rather large. Like, again, this is 4,990 pounds, I believe, off the top of my head. And so right away you can tell and know that this is an extremely large vehicle, and it's meant to be this is Santa Monica's soccer mom vehicle. Honestly, you go down Santa Monica, you see your X5s, your X3s, your Mercedes MLs, and this competes with something like that. Mercedes MLs, Audis, Audi Q7s, not necessarily Q5. The Q5 is more of a comparable model to a BMW X3 or Mercedes GLK, but and like a Cadillac SRX. And honestly, I will do a Mercedes ML soon, but like I said, this is not the most highly optioned vehicle, but this is definitely a steal. I believe this is going for about $14,000 right now. I'm Blue Book at CarLux, and I believe the on average price, asking price, is about $16,000. Yeah, about $16,500. So this is a good bang for your buck, a good bargain in my opinion. And like I said, everything in here, you know what you're getting. Again, this is a BMW. There's not really much more needs to be said. The trunk space is very nice. It is a power tailgate, both opening and closing. The leg room, if you have the seats all the way back, let's say if you're just an abnormally tall person, 6'5" plus or whatever, the person immediately behind said person, and they're also tall, they're not gonna have the best of times. But you know, if you're 6 feet, you know, a little more on reasonable human height, you're not gonna have any issues whatsoever inside this vehicle or outside. You know, it has ample space to tow your lovely pets in the back. You know, shopping for the family, for even if it's a monthly type shopping, there's enough space. Again, this is a very open, wide cabin, and considering it is an SUV, you have a good half a foot to foot off the ground that you're overlooking and seeing above other vehicles, and that's a really good quality to appreciate when it comes to SUVs, because that's what it offers. Americans in general, typically, at least the market dictates anyway, that Americans aren't necessarily interested in tourings or wagons. Generally, when it comes to BMWs, tourings are called, or wagons are called touring vehicles. So people kind of wonder, well, why wouldn't you settle for you know, a 5 Series wagon as opposed to the X5? It's pretty much the same thing, same engine, same specs and everything, just that this one, the X5, sits, you know, half a foot to a foot off the ground, depending on obviously what rims, kind of rims you put on and things of that nature. And well, you know, there's something about being able to sit above high and see down below, and just give you an overall better projected vision of what's going on in front of you in terms of traffic and everything else. And it offers more utility in the sense that you could pass over a few things, you know, maybe take this a little bit off-roading if you're going camping or something like that. Again, this does have a towing capacity of 6,000 pounds, so you can tow a decent amount with this vehicle, which is honestly pretty surprising. Again, this has a ZF 8-speed automatic, shiftable, and gets you a EPA estimated of 16 city to 23 highway. And like, again, this interior is not quite at the level that I personally expect. I find my 3 Series interior better than this, but again, just because I'm saying that doesn't mean this is a bad interior. This is a lovely interior. It's just, you know, when I compare it to even though it's not a fair comparison. Again, like the SRT and Jeep Grand Cherokee, that was a very clean, luxurious interior, but at the same time, that starting price was probably around $70,000, and this even optioned all the way up does not barely gets to $60,000. So there's a good $10,000 premium when you're getting that sort of performance. But again, that did have 470 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque. But again, when you're paying for BMW, you're paying for both class, name, luxury amenities, and, you know, quality. And that's something personally that can be lost in American-made vehicles, which is what I find extremely annoying, because American vehicles tend to have the horsepower, tend to have the fun, everything of that nature, but then fall short when it comes to the inside. And, you know, like I said, it really depends on the kind of customer you are and what you're looking for. There's nothing wrong with that mindset. You know, it offers a cheaper vehicle, a cheaper alternative, and some people just want, you know, the bare bones, the bare minimums, or they just don't want, you know, ultra extravagance, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, for me personally, when I purchase something and I buy something, I want it to have everything it possibly can for the money and get my best bang for the buck. But with that being said, let's go ahead and take this bad boy on a spin, because I think I talked about everything I possibly needed to about this. So let's go ahead and take this bad boy for a drive, and let's go ahead and get it. Let's go. So what's this like driving the 2011 E70 BMW X5 X-Drive 35i? I'm gonna keep on repeating that name because it is a mouthful. But right off the bat, you can tell this is an extremely large vehicle. But again, it is X-Drive, so it has some nice get up to it. Like I said, it's definitely moving this frame around, and I wasn't even on the pedal like that whatsoever. It rides very smooth. One thing that I love, and I can't emphasize that anymore, is the steering feel. I don't know what it is, but it's like no other car manufacturer can replicate this. And every BMW in the E generation and pre-F generation, the steering feel is just immaculate. Why is it so hard for manufacturers to get this? I understand that some people don't necessarily want this, but you know, people that look at BMWs, especially don't get me wrong, this is a sport utility vehicle, right? So there is sport in that. So correct me if I'm wrong, realistically speaking, it would be okay to implement some sort of sportiness within this SUV. I mean, it does say sport in the actual name. But with that being said, this steering wheel is extremely weighted. It feels literally just like my 3 Series. Not necessarily quite as pinpoint. Again, this is X-Drive, so the suspension is a little bit more floaty. And obviously, this isn't a sports suspension. This is not a sports car. It's merely a derivative of that, with it being, you know, a power tailgate raised, things like that. But again, this steering is lovely. It feels exactly how I would want every single one of my daily driving vehicles, because this is something you can't get and really almost anything else other than a BMW, to my knowledge, as of this moment. Maybe except for like a Porsche and things like that, but then again, you're getting into even more expensive vehicles. But again, this steering feel exudes so much confidence. So just all the way down. And you know, again, I was worried because I have the same exact engine in my car, albeit tuned. So definitely I feel a lot, or not feel, I'm going actually a lot faster than this vehicle. But with the combination X-Drive, it rides really well. Robert, how you feeling back there with these Inglewood streets?
I despise it so much.
you despise what, the streets? Or
yeah.
But how are you feeling? Like how is the X5? How is the ride quality so far? Reasonably well, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, this is not S-Class, you know, but this is an X5, a truck, a SUV. It offers many things that you wouldn't necessarily expect out of, sorry, just paying attention to the emergency vehicles going by. But again, this is surprisingly big. Wouldn't you say this is probably, besides the 7 Series, BMW's biggest vehicle, right? Or Robert?
What?
That this would be BMW's biggest vehicle besides the 7 Series? It feels very spacious in here, right?
It's very spacious. I know they come like in different models, also maybe. Because
you're about like 5'10", 5'11". How is your legroom feeling like back there?
Good, reasonable. Yeah, it's actually really good though. Got the AC on too, because you know how it's freaking hot.
Yeah, it's like 90 degrees up in here in LA.
Like on the long ride, yeah, I wouldn't mind being in a X5.
Yeah, like I said, it's reasonably comfortable, offers reasonable space for the back occupants as well. Again, I'm not 6 feet plus, but I think even if I were to be quite a bit taller, Robert would still be fairly comfortable back there, even on a long haul. You know, like I said, this is something that is what automakers aspire to be and to have. And like I said, this steering feel is quite a joy because I've driven so many vehicles apart from my own, and I always try and compare the steering to my vehicle to an extent anyway. Obviously, there are different limitations. Like, I'm not going to compare and complain about S-Class steering compared to my vehicle because that's not the point. But when I do feel something that offers a little bit more sportiness and feels the way that this does, I'm extremely happy. And it's, again, I guess all it took was another BMW for me to review, for me to feel that exact steering that I love day in and day out, which is why, despite some of the issues that I have experienced with my own car, it's pleasurable to me to drive day in and day out, and why I want to keep my particular 335i for as long as possible. And honestly, just with the steering alone, I would get an X5. Honestly, I would buy this vehicle. This is a lovely experience. This is something that I could and would want to drive day in and day out. It gives me all the feedback that I could possibly want. And what's even more surprising is, again, like I said, this is an SUV. This is a truck, people. This is not a sports car, but yet it feels good, translates feedback that I want, and overall, how can you really complain about that, you know? And again, like I said in the beginning, this vehicle is available at Carlux. Shout out to Carlux, my boy Superman Rob in the back, and Sunny. Again, thank you guys so much for this opportunity, because I'm gonna keep on doing what I need to do to get to where I need to be, and it's all thanks to you guys, because you guys are a big part of my now success and future success. But back onto the X5. Negatives, honestly, there's really few negatives I can honestly think about this, especially knowing and understanding exactly what I'm getting and driving in. It has ample power. The steering feel is amazing. The interior quality, this particular one, like I said, it does kind of fall a little flat in terms of the interior. You know, it's just kind of like your basic black, and you're a little bit too much use of your soft touch materials. But other than that, I think the driving dynamics of this vehicle more than make up for it. Again, I've never driven an X5 before. This is my first time driving an X5, especially an E70 generation. And it still looks modern. It still has nice curvature. It still has nice succinct lines. And it gives an overall good impression and good road presence. And, you know, that's something you can't really quantify, because it just feels good. And there was very little body roll in that corner, which is even more surprising to me, because again, like I said, this is an X-Drive model going into a slight little curve here, and there's really not much body roll. Right, Robert? How you feeling back there?
Good.
Like, it feels planted, it feels fun, it feels sporty, it feels what I would want. And it's crazy because, like I said, I took this exact road, the same exact everything that I'm taking right now when I did my Charger RT review. And again, I'm not necessarily knocking that vehicle, because I know what it is. It's a straight line bruiser, workforce kind of blue collar type vehicle. But that Charger RT had a lot of body roll up, a lot of body sway. But this being 500 pounds heavier with an X-Drive suspension and being nearly a foot off the ground, feels far more planted and safe in these corners than that Charger did. Again, that's not an SRT, and it's obviously wasn't a Hellcat, so I would really hope that you know, the SRT and Hellcat upgrades definitely give us a far better impression. But like I said, that's just a little tangent, but that kind of gives me the feeling and what I'm kind of experiencing with this vehicle, because like I said, this is 4,900 pounds. It is nearly a foot off the ground, but yet it feels every bit as good as, you know, a more sporty oriented vehicle. And that's what I love. You know, when you can get sportiness outside of a vehicle that doesn't really have any right being sporty, and you really complain. And like I said, we're going over some huge bumps, unfortunately. Inglewood, get it together. The stadium is coming, get it together. But it barely translates into the vehicle. It doesn't rattle me, doesn't hurt my back. I feel good. I feel clean. I feel man, if only BMW continued on this path. You know, there's been a lot of talk about BMW switching to, you know, electronic power steering. This is hydraulic power steering, so it gives the feedback that I love and crave as a driving enthusiast. And being able to elicit that sort of response out of me from a vehicle, like, again, as I aforementioned, has no reason, being really fun to drive, is a plus. That is something that is you can't help but just love, because again, this is not meant to feel like the way that it does, but yet they still manage to pull it off. Now, how many vehicles do you know that are able to do that? I can tell you right now, out of the many vehicles that I've driven, not many. And especially any of the trucks or SUVs that I've driven. The only other one that felt reasonably well was the GLK 350 review that I did. And this still feels better than that. That didn't feel bad, but this feels larger, bigger, spacious, more comfortable, taller. But like I said, even though I love the GLK 350, that was something I would personally consider owning as well, considering it wasn't actually as for the V6. Had a little bit of kick up to it, but this, it just feels a whole lot more smoother. And you know, like I said, I'm gonna do a little foot down right here. See, the X-Drive definitely gets you moving. Again, it's not like, oh my god, out of this world acceleration, but it's definitely serviceable, and you can definitely do a little bit of maneuvers in here and feel safe and overtaking, and just overall, you know, taking care of you know, ignorant people on the road and in the lane that don't want to let you get over. You have enough power and you feel comfortable and safe doing so. You don't feel underpowered. I really have felt that this vehicle feels far too heavy, or heavier than necessary, when it comes to the engine power plant. So don't get scared by the 300 horsepower and 300 pound-feet of torque. This engine is more than adequate, and does not feel at all like as if it's trained to move this massive, nearly 5,000 pound vehicle, when realistically speaking, two of us in here, it's definitely closer to like 5,200 pounds. So take that for what you will. But I think this is everything that I could possibly have added and wanted in this vehicle. I think I spoke about everything. Again, it's been a pleasure. Adequate power. Can you use more? Yeah. But again, I'm of the mindset that I could always use more power, but that's just me. Some of the vehicles that I've driven, I've said that could use more power, and I've, you know, I haven't necessarily said that I wanted more. But again, this isn't one of those. Could you use more? Yes. But is it adequate for your average customer and more than ideal? Most definitely. So with that said, once again, thank you so much to Carlux. This vehicle is available to purchase at Carlux right here in Inglewood, West Side, Best Side, right off of Hawthorne, or La Brea, and between Lenox. Point issues. I did confuse, because Hawthorne turns on La Brea, La Brea turns on Hawthorne. It's reciprocal. But with that said, again, this is the boy Jeameave. This is Views from the Heart. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you, the viewer, again, for watching. And this video is not coming to a close. Thank you so much, and have a blessed day, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm out.